Hey guys, it's Tanika and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be reviewing and comparing two foundations by Makeup Revolution. The first one is the Revolution Pro Full Coverage Camouflage Foundation, and the second one is the Revolution Fast Base Stick Foundation. If you want to see me demo these foundations, swatch them next to some others in my collection, and hear my overall thoughts, then give this video a thumbs up and keep on watching. First up, let's start with the Full Coverage Camouflage Foundation. Now there are 18 shades in this range and I have the lightest one called F1, and this is for fair skin with neutral undertones. This is described as a highly pigmented creamy foundation that creates maximum coverage with a natural looking finish. It claims to be waterproof, non-transferable and long wearing. It comes with 25 ml of product and it retails for 13 Australian dollars. Starting with the coverage, as I mentioned, it claims to be a full coverage foundation and I can definitely agree with that statement. When I first used it, I was super surprised at how full coverage it is for such an affordable foundation. One layer gives me a really good coverage and then I go in with my beauty blender and just add a little bit more on areas where I need it. So it's usually on my chin and my cheeks where I just have a few pimples and scars. This shade has a great neutral undertone which works perfectly for me, and it is also quite fair, but I do still like to add in a little bit of a whitening drop just to make it ultra fair. It is more of a thicker, creamy foundation, but it doesn't feel heavy on the skin and it leaves a really gorgeous semi-matte finish. I really love that because it's not super matte and it just leaves a really nice glow to the skin. I do like to set all my foundations with a powder, and because this foundation does have that glowy finish, I don't want to set it with a super matte powder. So I go in with my Models Prefer Mineral Finishing Veil Powder and I still get that really nice fresh glowy look. As for longevity, this foundation lasts around 8 hours on me. I was actually quite surprised. It didn't go patchy around my nose or my chin at all, but I did get super oily. I don't usually get extremely oily, but this foundation just does something to me, and my T-zone and my cheeks were just looking greasy. If I blot and touch up with a bit of powder, I can get another hour or so out of it, but really I think 8 hours is the maximum for me. This is the kind of foundation I would wear if I was going out on the weekend because I love that it has the full coverage and it leaves a nice fresh glowy finish, but it's not one that I would wear if I needed it for the longevity. As for the claims of it being non-transferable, I can agree with that. I could touch my face and, lean on my hands and the foundation wouldn't move or come off. I definitely think that this foundation is worth the money and it's one that I would keep in my collection. I like having a foundation like this in my collection for when I'm only going to be wearing it for shorter periods of time because I feel like I'm not wasting the money that I spent on it, So if I had a $60 foundation, I don't want to wear that for 5 hours at a time because I feel like it's a waste of money and a waste of wear time. A $60 foundation, I want to be wearing it for like 12 hours to get my money's worth. Does that make sense? Alright, moving on to the demo of this foundation and you can see how it applies. I just grab a mixing palette to mix the foundation and the lightning drops together. And then I just go ahead with my brush and apply this over the face. I forgot to mention, I did already go and color correct some of my bigger pimples. I had some down on my neck here that I just thought needed some color correcting because they might still peek through the foundation. Alright, so the brush I'm using is the Zoeva 104 Buffer Brush. I always like to apply my foundations with a kabuki style brush. I find I get a better coverage, and then I go over the top with a beauty blender just to get a nice flawless finish and get rid of any streak marks if there may be any. Like, look at that for a $13 foundation. Alright, so this is one layer. I'll zoom you in so you can get a closer look. So you can see that it does have really good coverage. I am going to go ahead and put a little bit more on my chin here where I've got some pimples. but I feel like overall my cheeks look really good and I really like that coverage. So just with whatever's left on my palette, I'm going to dip my beauty blender into there and apply a little bit more. Alright, so this is the foundation on. I did put a little bit more over my chin and then I just went over my entire face with the beauty blender. Now, as you can see, super full coverage and it just gives a really nice kind of glowy look to the skin. It does settle a little bit into the lines on my forehead here, but every foundation does, so can't complain about that. But overall, I think it looks really nice. Then next we have the Fast Base Stick Foundation, and this one also comes in 18 shades, and again I have the lighter shade F1 with the same undertone. The Fast Base is described as an easy to apply stick formula that melts into the skin, blending seamlessly for a fresh, dewy finish. It retails for $9 and comes with 6.2 grams of product. First up, the shade of this foundation is really good. It's super fair and again has that great neutral undertone. I do feel like this one is a little bit lighter than the full coverage Camouflage foundation because I don't need to add any whitening drops. The coverage on this one for me is around a medium. I can still see a lot of my scars and pimples peeping through, and as you would all know, I really enjoy a full coverage. But this does do a good job of covering most of that up. It does have a satin finish which does look nice and fresh and glowy, and again I like to set it with my Models Prefer powder so that I'm not setting it super matte. As for the longevity, it isn't the best. I would only wear this for like 6 to max 7 hours because on me it just looked like it was done. I was patchy around my hairline, on my chin, on my nose. I looked super oily all throughout my T-zone and on my cheeks, and even after setting it with the powder I found that it still transferred. If I was to lean on my face or just lightly brush it, the foundation would slide and move around. I think this foundation would be best for even shorter periods of time, like if you were going out to run errands or something and you just like to put a little bit of makeup on. I think that this is the kind of foundation for that. But for me, it's not really what I'm looking for when it comes to coverage and longevity, so I don't think that I would repurchase this one. And by the way, neither of these foundations have a scent or contain SPF. Alright, moving on to the demo of the Fast Base Stick Foundation. So again, I've started by color correcting some of the big pimples on my face. I had some down on my chin and one up here. So I've put some green concealer on that and then a skin color concealer over the top. Now I'm just going to take the foundation and apply this straight from the stick onto my face. This foundation I find blends better with a brush, so again I'm going in with my Zoeva 104 Buffer Brush. This one is a little harder to blend out, so I definitely think a brush is your best bet over a sponge. So this is what one layer looks like. As you can see, a lot of my pimples and redness is still showing, especially on this side here. You can see this patch. On my neck, you can still see a lot of pimples. It is leaving a really nice dewy finish. I love that, but I definitely need to go in with some more coverage. So I'm going to put a second layer on and then I'll show you what that looks like. And then as always, I like to just go over the top with my beauty blender to get a nice flawless finish. And then this is what the second layer looks like. So it's definitely covered up more of my pigmentation. Like down on my neck here, you can see the difference. And you can definitely see that it's leaving a really, really dewy finish. So I do really like the glowiness that it gives straight up, and as I said, even once I set it with the powder, I still do get that coming through. But because I have to put on a second layer to get the kind of coverage that I like, it does tend to look a little bit cakey, especially around my pimply areas. So this patch on my chin just doesn't look the best, and after a couple hours I can tell it's just gonna be a hot mess. I have tried this foundation out with several primers as well, and to be honest, I really didn't see a big difference, so I don't really see the point. I just don't think that this foundation works for my skin. And lastly, I'll just pop in some swatches of these foundations next to some other favorites in my collection. So here we have the Full Coverage Camouflage Foundation, and this one is the Fast Base Stick Foundation. This is the Maybelline Superstay in 110, and this is the Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless in 110. This one is the NYX Total Control Drop Foundation in Porcelain. And this one here is the Marc Jacobs Remarkable in 10 Ivory Light. Well, I hope this video has helped you decide if these foundations will work for you. If you enjoyed watching, then please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you aren't already. And if you want to see more Makeup Revolution products in action, I will link a video down below where I did a full face using them. Today's subscriber shout out goes to Tom Jones. Thank you for always leaving lovely comments on my videos and engaging in conversation. I appreciate you so much. If you want to be my next subscriber shout out, then make sure you subscribe to my channel and just leave me a comment down below. I hope you're all having a great day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!